Good morning from Winchester to Benvilleville.
Good morning, Mr. Stuber. How you
Hey,
doing?
that was for Jane. And when you said that, you said I was sitting there trying to think of the movie too, and then I was like, oh my God, I just watched it the other day. I swear, if I had dementia, I would never know
You
it.
That's funny, man. Hey, I appreciate you being with us today, my friend. And hey, I appreciate you sending that email in that you sent in here to us on Turfs Up Radio. And
Well, it was. I'll tell you what, and Darren probably read it, and I'm sorry I didn't because I didn't proofread it. It was 1:30 in the morning. I've been so busy around here that I've been waking up the chickens and putting them to bed at night. Um,
chickens. My
yeah,
good. You mean y'all got daylight and electricity and all out there?
you never know, and I've actually got the mules out here working, so my internet's working for today.
Is
So
it nice,
uh,
nice. Well, wait, that's pretty cool. Hey, now, if I'm not mistaken, John, didn't you grow up in Iowa?
I did. I did. I
Okay,
grew up on a farm.
I did. All right, and I'm not making fun because I know we got listeners in Iowa. It's the only reason I bring that up. You know,
Bless their heart.
bless their heart, huh? Oh shoot. Hey, no, I appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your day to call us, my friend. And
Well, that's no problem.
yeah, when I got your email and all, and Darren forwarded it to me. I thought, man, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna see if he doesn't mind getting on the radio. And I knew from for you guys that don't know, John, I'm gonna give him a little history on you and I, if that's okay.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
I'm apologize right now, but go ahead.
I met John camping several years ago, and how long was it, about 8 or 9 years ago, maybe 10,
Oh
uh,
God, yeah.
or longer
Yeah.
than that. I don't know. Long,
Before I had gray hair.
yeah, before you had gray hair, huh? I hear you. But yeah, but anyway, I met John camping, and he was having a heck of a time getting a satellite hooked up, wasn't it? Wasn't it or
Oh
something?
God.
You,
Yes.
you
Oh my
forgot
God.
that, didn't
Yeah.
you? Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I hooked up the butt. I was hooking up to everybody's stuff over there, and I think I ran a line through your campsite there and everything, and it was a mess. And I'm glad I did though, because I got to meet you and meet a bunch of other folks out there, and I had some of the best time of my life out there.
Yeah, well, we certainly have missed you the last few years, and I appreciate you listening to me on Turfs Up Radio. Matter of fact, though, but
Well, I got Rob and I started this. She, we, she just wanted to get out of the medical field. She was in the medical field for almost like 40 years. And she just wanted to retire. So we was out here one day and we'll make the long story short. Me and her went to Florida for a couple, for a few days, and we left our dogs here with some kids. And they had a heck of a time, and we worried to death about them. So when we come back, we were sitting out here, and we have an acre lot that's fenced in and everything. And she's like, maybe we ought to just do something like this. We'll look into it. And I said, well, I don't know anybody in the business, and I don't know, there ain't too much stuff out there to learn how to do, during the business. So we started our boarding business first, and then she turned around and she retired from being a physical therapist assistant, and
like
she went
retired or
to
quit.
she retired. Well, she still got her license, but she's basically just done. I mean, she just said, "Bye, guys, I'm done." It's just too much paperwork and all that kind of stuff, and it just got harder and harder. And so she went to Nash Academy to become a professional groomer, and she was top of her class, got all the certifications. She even got a she could do dog CPR, believe it or not.
Nice, nice.
But she, but
Is that
she
because you
got
roll
learned
over
all
and
the.
lay on your back and put your hands and feet up in the air and go panting a little bit?
I don't know. I asked her the same thing, and she just gave me that stare. Remember the stare I used to get out there at the lake, but
Yeah.
I called it McDonald's stare. But she, she learned all the breed cuts. They like schnauzer cuts, doodles, and stuff like that. So long story short, she started grooming out of the basement out of here. Well, we started getting a lot of people saying, "Boy, we just getting swamped," and people coming up to you, and I got to anymore where to me it's like an insult or a slap in the face. Boy, you're the cheapest around. I'm like, I'm working my tail off, and these people here, they're just kind of mean, insulting.
Right,
So I
right.
thought one day I was out there mowing the lawn, and I remember you having your stations. I said, well, I'm gonna listen to them, because and about your profit time, and then all of a sudden you start clicking in. It's like, oh my God, what he's saying. I'm doing it. Instead of selling myself or doing this, I'm working. I'm basically working for nothing. I'm basically paying the consumer to watch their dog. And it's like, well, so I started doing what you were saying, about how to do this and how to do that, saving a little. So I raised the prices up.
So you actually
So
sat down and figured out what it cost you to provide your service. Is what I think you said.
right, because it's because I was, to be honest with you, I was we swamped with dogs. I was making about $1.50 an hour, and it's like, oh my God! And it's not something you just put them in a cage and it's like, okay, I'll see you in 20 hours.
Right.
You have to take them out and walk them. You've got to. There's other things to do it. So I started raising my service. Just started raising the prices up so that I can eliminate the ones that are just here to just take advantage. And we built such a clientele in a year and a half. Well, the grooming's been a year and a half. The boarding's been 2 years. I'm going to honestly say we have done so well by going off your program, doing what, I told Robin about it at first. At first she's like, John, Wayne's into landscaping. I said, no, Robin, it's business. He's talking about business. I don't care if you're selling apples to,
right.
to anybody. You got to sell yourself. You've got to find out what you're worth and how much you're doing and what's your product and that stuff. Then put it out there. Well, believe it or not, I don't know if you saw her post. We actually are turning down new clients right now. Well, our clientele is so big, we ain't got room out. I would be doing a disservice to people if I,
and you were able to do that even with raising your prices.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
We first of all, I promoted her being a professional because she, certified. She's certified in what she does.
Let me ask you this, John. How hard is it working directly with your wife? All joking aside. I mean, because I don't know if I could do that or not. Not your wife, but with mine. I mean, how hard is it, or is it? How do y'all segregate work and business and play and that whole scenario?
I would like to say it was drinking, but that's not the case. But it's hard at first, trying to get used to one another at first. The I always said we pushed our marriage certificate to the test when we renovated the garage into a kennel and that stuff. When we insulated it and put an air conditioner, we pushed it to it because there's a few times I've walked out and then she's walked out.
I got you.
I help her in the grooming. I basically, because you get some big dogs in there, and they're just fidgety. They're not, it's like you going to the dentist, you're kind of nervous and that stuff. Well,
right.
Dogs are like that too. And I help her with, when they do the nail trimming and anal glands, and sometimes carry them to the bathtub. I'll
right.
carry them because we get some 100-pound dogs. But it's come along now. I mean, it took a while getting used to. Because
now, let me ask you this, John. What was your, not to interrupt you, but what was your background before you started grooming dogs? If you don't mind sharing that with our listeners.
I was retired postal worker.
Okay. All right.
And military. I was in the military. I'm a disabled veteran. And I worked there until I lost the majority of my eyesight, and I ended up having to retire early. And I'm visually impaired. I don't drive vehicle on the road. I mow, and sometimes it looks like I'm blind person mode, but it's done. But
I'm not laughing at you, buddy. I'm laughing with
you.
No,
That's fine. I mean, and then another thing that you said always push about too is spending time for yourself, because this boarding business is a 24/7 job. Because I've got cameras out there, and that's a big plus. I mean, when I was going full strong, I had no time for myself. I didn't know if I was coming or going. You remember the old Dunkin' Donuts commercial where the guy was, I made the donuts. I'm going to make the donuts.
Yeah.
That's how I got to be feeling there for a while. And then I just told her, I said, we got to do something about this. We're killing ourselves. We're not spring chickens anymore. And we also help. There are some other people that graduated from Nash that they don't live around here, but they're close by, and we've been helping them too, believe it or not. Because I'm not going to say nothing bad about my competitors out here, because we start that kind of crap, it's going to bring it downhill quick.
I appreciate you saying that, because I talk about that sometimes on here, that that was something my dad always told me. He says, if you got to criticize your competitor, you don't have anything to sell yourself.
Right.
And it sounds like that's kind of what you're saying, if I'm hearing you right.
Yes, I've learned. I'm telling you, I listen. If I couldn't listen to you live because the internet sucked, I listened to the podcast. Later on. But yeah, I've got HughesNet people, so that should be saying enough. But it's very rewarding. I get to see some of the neatest dogs, from Great Danes to all kinds of doodles to. I mean, I've got 2 of them out there right now. I love them to death. They're the best dogs in the world, and you appreciate them and that. And then we get puppies, and puppies. Everybody's puppies poop a lot.
Yeah.
And I got to constantly go out there and clean the kennels. I keep them clean.
What do you think?
Like it down.
Hey, John, let me ask you this again.
Sure.
You're giving me all these things to think about as you're talking here. What do you think was the biggest mistake you made with your business? Or is there just or a few of them, if you don't mind sharing? Because we have a lot of guys that do kind of like what you're doing, not in the grooming business, but they're working hard but not as smart. What if you could do all over again? What's a couple things that you would do different, faster, and sooner?
Well, I would have done more investigation. I underpriced myself, and that's the problem with a lot of things. People underprice themselves. And I didn't stop and think about what I am worth and how much time I'm doing. I mean,
so you were undervaluing your time.
Yeah. And, and if you stop and look at it, if I'm underpricing and doing stuff like that, I'm actually telling people that I don't have much confidence in myself, and I'm not that great at it, where I've actually had to go out and prove it, raise prices where I'm competitive. I'm not competing against Pet Suites or big wigs in Lexington, that kind of stuff, because they're in another county.
Right.
I'm taking care of myself here in Clark County, and basically, believe it or not, after I started doing a little investigation, that kind of stuff, I'm about normal what the prices are and that kind of stuff. And I offer security, walking them out there.
Yeah.
They bring their own food, because you can upset a dog's stomach big time. They're switching food them out right quick. And a fenced-in lot where it's under supervision, where they can go out and have a ball.
Now, do you guys have any employees other than you and Robin, or is it you two doing it all?
We're just doing it all right now.
Right now.
And yeah, and once in a while, we get her sister comes out there. Whenever
I want
to take some time off to do something, but other than that, it's just her and I. And
so you guys have created a pretty good business, it sounds like, then, to sustain both of you guys, right? I mean,
oh yeah.
So it sounds like a whole lot like a guy. I hear it all the time from guys that, correct me if I'm wrong on this. Seriously, you won't hurt my feelings a bit, because it's going to come out wrong when I say it. Okay, but I tell guys a lot of times they've created just a job for their self. But in listening to you, it sounds like you've created more than a job. You've created a sustainable business, even though it's just you and Robin. You're still making a good profit at what you're doing.
Correct. That's true. Yeah.
And
there's nothing wrong with that.
And that's the message I try to get across a lot of times with guys, in the lawn and landscaping businesses. It's okay to stay small, but just because you're small doesn't mean you can't have a business. Because at the end of the day, and what I mean by that is just what you're talking about. Don't undervalue yourself. Don't pay yourself out of what you call profit. Hey, put your salary into that expense and know that, hey, this is what I want to make. And I think that's where a lot of times small business owners in general, do go wrong, is they don't value their time. They don't include a salary. A lot of companies that I work with, one of the first things I look for is, okay, where's your salary in that budget? Or where's your salary in a line item as an expense to your company? Well, I just pay myself out of what's left over. Well, that's not the right methodology of that, right? I mean,
no, it's not. And Robin had to supplement her, her where she, her other job. So she actually takes, that she's included in the price of all that. I mean, it's like paying your bills, electric, everything, it's programmed right into it.
How long did
So,
it take you guys to realize that after not just listening to the Profit Time and listening to me? Because I know we used to talk a lot about it at the lake too, as far as lawn companies go.
I'd say about a couple months after I started listening to it, because I was like, I'll be sitting on the tractor and I'll be sitting there, and I know my neighbors probably thought I was on some type of drugs or something like that, because, I'll be sitting there going, damn, that's right, and I'd stop, and I would find something to write it down and that kind of stuff. But I mean, after I got to talking to her about it, because, she's like, Robin's like, she's got that mindset, that you're in the landscaping business. What's this got to do with grooming and boarding and that stuff? And I kept trying to explain to her, it's business, He's talking about businesses. You don't care if you're selling,
right,
toothpicks to people. You're in a business. And it started coming around, and it clicked. And when I told Darren, when I wrote an email about 3 counties, we got to sit down and look at our clientele and everything. We got people coming from Moorhead. We got people coming from Paris, pretty much Ethel County.
So you got people driving a little bit of distance and still paying a good price. So
right.
So the message is you've created some perceived value for your all service is what I'm hearing.
Right.
That somebody's willing. You don't have to be the cheapest for somebody to hire. And
no,
I think that's where a lot of times small businesses get lost. They think, I got to grow my business, and the only way I'm going to grow my business is to go in cheap. Well, then I'll raise my prices. But then sometimes it's too late, I mean,
right.
It's too late at that point sometimes to do it. So
at what point? We offer 10% for veterans. You got to take care of veterans. I don't care what they are. They didn't. They signed up. They signed up to protect us. By God, we ought to pay them a little back too.
Right. Right. Yeah, you hear us promote that here on Turf's Up all the time too. About
and I really appreciate that. You know how much we appreciate that. And if I was a little closer and you had something that can, well, I ain't gonna happen. But
yeah, I hear you.
It's like Friday. I went. Me and my brother-in-law. When I talked to you about the brother-in-law who's got a little small business going. Me and him went and played golf. And I talked to him about about you and that stuff. And I asked him if he went to see the webinar. He said, no. He said, I figured that was for big businesses. And I said, no, David, it's not for big businesses. I said, I said, I'm going to tell you something. Majority of these people that started out pushing a lawnmower and had a weed eater.
That's right.
I said, how do you think that they did this? They did this by, being smarter and work and, not killing yourself.
That's exactly right.
I said, how many times have I offered you to talk to this gentleman? I said, I've learned, David, I said, I listen, believe it or not, and I'm not even in landscape business, and looking how successful Marvin and I are becoming. We're 5-star. We're, if you look on Google right now, we're 5-star.
I wanted to bring something up before we get to talking about your brother-in-law for a second. I was talking about Bob Baffert a little bit earlier and how he's trained 7 horses that have won the Derby, and when you look at, you say, man, there's been 147 Derbies. Well, he's only won 7 of them. It's got to be a pretty tough thing to do, to win.
Oh, yeah.
You were on a farm. I don't know if y'all had horses or not in Iowa or what.
Oh, yeah. But I used to break horses.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Sure did.
So, but, I got to thinking about that and the reason I bring it up right now is he is a professional trainer of horses, right? I mean, that's his gig. Mm-hmm. That's what he does. When you look at the Small Business Administration and for why small businesses or why businesses in general fail, it starts out with a lack of training.
Yeah.
I think what we're talking about here today on Turf's Up Radio is training. It's easy to get into a business, whether you're mowing lawn. It's kind of like your brother-in-law. Hey, right. and I'm talking bad about your brother-in-law. I'm just in general. It's an easy entry business. You go buy a lawnmower. A lot of guys have trucks, or they buy string trimmers. You buy seeders, whatever. and now all of a sudden you're a landscaper, or you build up a few kennels or cages or whatever you call them for dogs. When now we're in a kennel, right? Now we're in a kennel business. A lot of businesses are easy entry businesses, but what we fall behind on is the training. And I think you've made a good point in talking about that today, is that and not bringing your business down at all, but I think you were like me. Hey, I got into the business. You got into the business, but we didn't have the business training that we needed to help our company be a little better. And that's
right.
where
there's not a lot of places out there that, and a lot of these competitors will not talk. They're like, oh, I might talk about my business or something like that.
Well, and the thing is, John, not to interrupt you, but let me, before I'll lose my mind. I forget what I was going to say. But what'd you say earlier about dementia?
Yeah, you never know you're going to have it.
Yeah, you never know you're going to forget it or something. But I got to remember that, man. But
here's you want to know something real funny, Wayne?
Yeah, go ahead.
Here in Kentucky, you do not have to be certified to be a groomer.
Really?
You can learn off YouTube to be a groomer. Yeah, that's what brought down a lot of these places.
Now, you don't have to tell everybody that, because, we got listeners all over the world, literally, John. But specifically the guys in the United States, they always think in Kentucky we don't have shoes, teeth, and hair anyway. So now. Now they're just thinking, well, I guess nobody in Kentucky can pass a groomer's test, right?
No, I don't know about that, but you have schools around here, and I like her certification is selling her.
That's correct.
And I turned around and after we got her, she's, I told her, I said, you really want to do good in this business, you're going to have to be certified. You got to show that.
Absolutely.
I went and LLC the business. I registered the name. I've done everything the right way so that, we're protected. We're, basically Robin is the selling point of the business because of her grooming. And if you've seen the pictures of some of the dogs she's done, I mean, about a couple months ago, we got a dog to come in. I didn't know what kind of dog it was. It was actually a schnauzer. It looked like a hairy mess. And when she got done, I mean, she posted it online on her webpage, our Teddy and Friends dog boarding page. I'm selling a little advertisement there.
That's all right.
It just, all of a sudden, you would not believe that the business phone or pages, it just got slammed.
Well, I think what you're saying about her certification is something that, or let me I'll put your thinking cap on a minute, because I want our guys to be thinking about that, our listeners that are listening, okay? I want them to be thinking, and maybe somebody's already figured it out, but what are you really saying about that certification? What are you really saying that does for your business? What's it bring to it?
It brings the fact that she knows what she's doing.
That's right. So it brings value, right? And it brings, more importantly than value initially, to a customer that you don't have. It brings what I talk about a lot on this show, as you know, is perceived value. Hey, well, she's a certified groomer. So that's why, I try to, if I can go to a class as a landscaper and I can get certified, if I'm doing hardscaping, go to a class, get certified doing hardscaping, get your fertilization weed control state license, even if you're not spraying right now. It's the same thing as having that groomer's license, right? It brings.
Well, let me ask you this: would you rather go to a doctor that got C's in school, or would you rather go to a doctor that was a straight A student? It's basically you're saying this woman knows what she's doing compared to somebody who's like, because all it takes is one bad cut and you're done.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it all goes back to when we try to make our businesses better, the more accolades we can get for our business. And, whether it's, hey, we won this award or we won that award. Well, you know what? Maybe there were only 5 companies in that test and you won that award, right? But you know what? You were one of 5 that won it. And I think that's the point I would like our listeners to hear today, is that the more certifications you can have, the more education you can put yourself through, it all goes back to training. What are you willing to do to commit to training to set your company apart? Because I don't know, I assume there's probably a lot of people that board dogs and a lot of people that cut dogs' hair in your area, John. I mean, not necessarily right in Clark County, but people have got a lot of choices, that they can go
There's
to.
Lexington, and
yeah.
There was a place in Mount Sterling, and they closed down, and they've been recommending us, and I don't know anybody from this place over there in Mount Sterling.
So they obviously knew about you.
They did, and I guess it's just, that's another thing, people, we advertised at first. We probably spent $200-$300 in advertisement, but once the word gets out there, unless you're really, really, really bad at it, we've not advertised anymore. I mean, basically word by mouth, such and such told such and such and such and such, and next thing you know, we're getting their neighbors, their cousins, their second cousins,
right,
and everything else.
And being that you're a small company, you can work that away. And that I talk about that, the guys all the time with that, hey, if you're small and you want to stay small, just do a good job.
Right.
You don't have to spend several, I don't know, it goes back into the winter. There was a guy that I was kind of defending a little bit on social media. For people were making fun of him for spending $400. But you know what? That's what the guy could afford on advertising. He needed a little push, right? He was trying to grow his business. And, advertising, based on how big you want your company to be, a lot of times you have to spend a little bit.
Right.
And, hey, if you're a small company like you guys or like he was, that's okay that you spend a little bit of money for a little bit of advertising,
Right.
It's just that simple. And I think what it boils down to is, and I know this is going to come out the wrong way, but word of mouth is great advertising. But sometimes it takes just a little bit more than that. Right? I mean, you got to sometimes you got to push something out there a little bit harder to get that recognition for your company. And what did y'all do, John, when you did a little bit of advertising? What type of advertising did you guys do, even though it was just a very limited amount? What did you find that worked good for you guys?
Well, we posted, picture of our, the field, the newly built kennels at the time, and then her, her grooming and basically our hours, and stuff like that. Sorry, that's Teddy. That's actually the dog company name.
How did y'all come up with your name, Teddy? Teddy and Friends.
That's Robin's dog. Robin has a dog, and he's a Labradoodle, and his name is Teddy.
I see.
And then we have Hazel as a poodle. Then I also have a service dog, and his name is Thor. He's a German Shepherd. And and Thor's not doing so good right now.
So that's how Teddy and Friends came about.
That's how Teddy and Friends and that kind of stuff.
Nice. Yeah. Naming your business is something you got to think about sometimes, isn't it?
Well, we, it was. We sat there and pounded, and we didn't want to use our last name because everybody, or we didn't want to come up with and everything. And Teddy,
I think I think you made an awesome choice, not using your name. Because I tell guys all the time, the worst thing I did was put Wayne's Lawn Service on it, initially. Because, as your company grows or whatnot, everything's associated to Wayne. And I think that's something, as our listeners here on Turf's Up Radio, as you think about your business, we know we got a lot of new guys in the industry that listen, think about the name a little bit, like not where you're at right now, but where do you want your company to go? If you're planning on some growth projection, hey, Teddy and Friends is pretty good, in my opinion. Or if you want to stay small, at least then not everybody's wanting to talk to, if it's John's Grooming or Robin's Grooming or Wayne's Lawn Service,
it does make up a difference on your trying to sell yourself and everything. And,
correct.
Teddy is a dog. We're in the dog. It's just kind of a simple thing that comes across on it. But
go ahead. I'm sorry. Share a little bit, if you would, about your brother-in-law. I mean, y'all's golfing experience, and now you say he's got a little mowing business. How long's he
He's got a
been?
little mowing business.
How long's
Yes,
he?
we were out golfing. Yeah, we was golfing Friday. You ever seen a blind golf player before?
No, how'd you do? How many balls did it take?
No, neither did he. We were just talking about David wants to. He wants to. He does these $20 an hour, these $20 jobs. Like you talked last week about it. About going out and doing these. And
oh my God, you got to get him to download our podcast, John.
I've been trying to. I'm like, David, you've got to listen to this guy. It's free. You don't have to pay anything. But I said, you're basically right now what he bought a new mower a couple of years ago. You're making payments on that. You got payments on your vehicle. You're on fuel and everything. I said, you're basically going over to that guy and saying, I'm going to pay you to do your job, your yard.
Absolutely. That's absolutely true.
I said, you are making nothing. You think, well, he pays me. Yeah, but you're undercutting yourself.
Yeah.
So these guys are going to,
until you
how
sit
many
down
people actually laugh?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Until you sit down and figure out what it costs you to mow a lawn or to cut a dog's hair, you're not stupid. You just don't know what you don't know. When I sat down and finally figured that out for my company, I was about little under $5 an hour off, but it goes to your point right there, what you were saying. For everybody that I had under bid, I should have just as well been going over there and giving them $4.80 and not cutting their yard because that's what I was off. And,
well, that's like grooming too. Every dog is different. Doodles take longer. Schnauzers, it just, each dog is different. Doodles, believe it or not, they're beautiful animals. They don't shed hardly at all, but they are a high maintenance dog. People don't realize
it's
you have
variables.
to comb them all the time.
And that's like you live on a hill, right?
Right.
Cutting your yard would be like maybe cutting a doodle, right? It's
right.
An acre's not an acre. People, you charge to cut an acre. Well, is it flat? Is it on a hill? Is it, got a creek at the bottom like yours stays wet? There's a lot of variables that get involved. And I think it's neat to hear the crossover in how you've applied just the crossover in what we talk about or what I talk about here on Turf's Up Radio and how that compares. That's just really, really cool, man. So.
Well, I'm gonna get up across one of these days, Wayne. I might
hear you.
That ball up and hit him back ahead with a club and tell him it was an accident, and maybe he'll wake up.
Maybe I hear it. Hey, John, I hate to do it to you, man, but I need to hop off, man. I've got to close my show. I appreciate you calling. I appreciate you listening.
No problem. And people, listen to this man. This man knows what he's talking about. It's helped me, and I'm not even in the landscaping business.
Hey,
so listen.
I appreciate you saying that, John. And for any of these guys that might be listening that got dogs, how can they get a hold of you if they need somebody to cut their dog and they're in the Lexington, Clark County area?
Well, just look under Teddy and Friends, and we got a page there to get a hold of, and it's got the phone number on.
All right. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you calling in.
You have a good day, buddy.
All right.
Close everybody up.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.